Hey, everybody, and welcome back. It's Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
A little bit of a new look for us, Casey.
Yeah, this is weird.
Still kind of keeping their distance. I even noticed, have you even noticed that on the, which is kind of weird, on even the local news channel here, they're doing split screen, even though they're kind of sitting at the same desk. Have you seen this?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it yet, though. Yeah.
Yeah, they're staying, 6 to 8 feet apart, but they're at the same desk, but it's split screen. So it's weird when they turn and look at each other.
Yeah. They need to keep it on still one shot, just back out really far, so you see them at opposite ends of the table. That'd be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. So I'm in the original studio.
You're at home base
for us. I'm a home base, and Case is over there at his home base, which is just across town. But hey, we're here bringing you weekly Star Wars content still, even though everybody's kind of, and a lot of people are worse than others. So we do feel for everybody out there, and hope we can bring some fun and excitement to your Star Wars day. We got a lot to get into today. New episode just dropped yesterday of the Clone Wars, Episode 5, Gone with a Trace. We'll talk a little bit about that. A lot of interesting tidbits in that episode. They released April's description for the upcoming episodes, so we'll talk about that. And then, of course, the big news, which we'll get into about when we speculate on our topic, is a big appearance coming in Mandalorian Season 2, apparently.
Yeah.
So, first up, though, Gone with a Trace. Now, we've got the return of Ahsoka back into Season 7 of the Clone Wars here, the final season. Interesting enough, last week when the Clone Wars Download released their episode, which is the recap episode that StarWars.com is doing on YouTube there, Filoni said something interesting, which I thought was, mainly he said it directly. I think it was kind of assumed, but he basically described what this last season, the stories that this last season is really truly telling, and what he's trying to wrap up. And he simply said it was about Rex and about Ahsoka. Yeah. That was really it.
Yeah.
And we saw that with the Bad Batch with Rex, and of course, then now we're getting 4 episodes here of Ahsoka, and it makes sense that the both of them will team up and head to Mandalore, to face Maul. So I thought that was a pretty cool direct reveal of what we're getting in this season.
Yeah, and I'm kind of remembering too. My initial thoughts, like basically when Clone Wars started and they introduced us to Ahsoka, I think a lot of people were at first a little skeptical of her, like me. And then Rex also, oddly enough, was another one where I'm like, I want Commander Cody. Like, where's Commander Cody? He is the guy I want to see in these episodes. Not like I don't know who Rex is, but okay, whatever. But yeah, it's just great evidence to the fact of how amazing Filoni and his team are in making these fantastic characters. So yeah, I'm glad that they're the focus of this last season. And this episode, Gone Without a Trace, was a great reintroduction of Ahsoka.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't know if it happens to you, but when I watch the episode on Disney Plus, as soon as it's over, it wants to play the Clone Wars movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I rewatched it tonight, the episode, and while I was kind of waiting for us to get back on here and record, the Clone Wars movie started, and I actually sat there and watched it. And I'll tell you what, it's actually better because I know these characters,
right?
And there is a lot of Ahsoka and Rex interaction in that first few minutes. And again, listening back to Filoni and then watching that again, I'm like, wow, this is a journey that these two characters have gone on in this show, because they are the two characters that got introduced, right? We knew everybody else, really. Obviously, there's a lot more Jedi we got introduced to, but you're talking about main characters here. Ahsoka and Rex from the very first episode. We've got to know them, and Rex especially has grown into a huge character, obviously, because what he's done in Rebels as well, right? Yeah. So, so it's really cool to see that again. You know, there's obviously, I think that some of the dialogue, I can't get over the Sky Guy and the Snips part, really. Yeah. But, and honestly, if that wasn't in there, it would be really decent, you know? The one question I got that came up again, I tried to research it because I couldn't really find out why, but Anakin and Obi-Wan know Ventress in this, even though this is Ventress's first appearance. Mm-hmm. We still haven't gotten that story, really. How do they know about Ventress? I mean, she was a Padawan, but they probably didn't know her then, obviously. Mm-hmm. How did they run into her? You know, and I actually researched a little bit. Have we got an answer to Anakin's scar? We haven't yet fully. I mean, it's like,
that's right.
Anyway, there's some questions there still, you know?
Yeah, it just, again, it makes me keep wishing that 2D Clone Wars version, that macro series was canon, just because I can't remember if it introduced Asajj as in her debut, her first interaction with Anakin. But like,
I remember that's how he got the scar originally.
It showed the scar. It was, gosh, there was so many great moments in that where I wish it was still canon. But yeah, you're right. That would be cool to see. That would be cool to see them kind of retell that story in a new way. That would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you can easily take those. Heck, you can take the actual animation look and just turn it into a comic. Mm-hmm. I mean,
absolutely.
But probably not. But you know, we can wish. Okay, so moving on to this episode, though. Speaking of Ahsoka, you know, we finally get her back. Now, if you watch chronologically the episodes of the seasons of the Clone Wars, we haven't seen Ahsoka since she left the Order at the end of Season 5. So Season 5, Episode 20 was the last episode that we saw Ahsoka in that scene with Anakin, a very powerful scene of her turning away the Jedi Order and leaving. And, you know, we obviously when we watched that episode, when it aired, we thought, okay, well, somehow she's going to come back. Well, the show got canceled after that. So it was really weird not seeing how. And so when we got her back, actually, we got her back in Rebels. So now we get her back after a full season and a couple years later. But what I thought was the first thing I thought about was great about this episode, which I texted you right away, was that she lands on 1313.
Yes.
So overall, just that was really cool. But overall, what was your feeling of this episode?
I really enjoyed it. Bad Batch arc was great to kind of get us back into the swing of things with just that kind of classic Band of Brothers story. But this is kind of what I've been waiting for, at least for this new season, and this. Bad Batch was very intimate. You got really intimate with Echo and with those characters. But, yeah, it's like just really waiting for the Ahsoka story to kick in and to get really deep into her development since we last saw her and the kind of finishing out her part. So this was fantastic. I loved the new characters we were introduced to. Trace and... I'm actually blanking on Rafa. I think Rafa. Yeah. The sisters. And yeah, 1313, which we've gotten, I think, glimpses of different parts of these stories, but this was great. I love seeing just the environment of 1313 and the slums, kind of, and putting the war in yet another perspective where these characters really don't like the Jedi. They think that they're just kind of high and mighty people who started this war or aren't doing a great job at finishing it, not trying to finish it. So I loved it. I loved seeing that very grounded storytelling, and Ahsoka. Yeah, and you talking about going back and watching the movie. Just thinking back, because I've recently seen some early episodes as well, and thinking back to her start in this whole story, how she was just a child, and seeing her now in this episode and how grown up she is, it's just great. It just makes me feel so satisfying, and to seeing how her story is coming full circle. So I love where this started. I love where it's going.
Yeah, agreed. 1313, for those of you who don't remember, it was a video game that was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some pre-concept. We actually saw gameplay footage at Star Wars Celebration. Gosh, I mean, years ago. That was probably 10 years ago, maybe. I don't know, 2012 maybe, I think.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, probably 8 years ago.
80 years ago. So it was really neat because honestly, there was that one cruiser that she runs into with the antenna that looked exactly like the cruiser.
That's right.
That you start off in. Now I don't know if it was, but that looked very familiar.
Well, that's actually interesting you say that, because when I was watching it, I feel like they focused a lot on. Are you talking about the cruiser where she crashes into it a little bit and kicks the satellite dish?
Yes.
That one, but then I think there was another shot where they really focus on this big cruiser lifting up.
Yes, that she's standing there. Yeah,
and
it was a great shot.
I thought for a second, because I thought they were focusing on it a lot, and thought it was like going to be like a Jedi cruiser or a Republic cruiser or something like that, but I wonder if they focus on it because that is maybe the one from the game. Be. Maybe. That would be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah, it could be. But 1313 was, the game that we were going to get about Boba Fett. And man, that would have been, I just can't believe it never made it. But I remember, when I was watching this though too, what kind of threw me off when she first said 1313, because, there's over 5,000 levels in Coruscant, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like she fell all that far.
No. Yeah, there's some time compression, I guess.
Yeah, but I did notice the second time I watched it that when she's hanging from her bike on the balcony, when you're looking down towards and down to the bottom it did look a lot shorter than when she looked up, and it looked higher. So it does look like she's further down, but that means she fell a lot of stories to get down there. But because 1313 is obviously the 1313th level.
Yeah.
But also, regardless, the bottom line is I freaking love Coruscant. I love the planet. I love the look of it. I'm so glad we got back to seeing it. So frustrating to me that we never saw it in these last 3 movies at all.
I know. Yes.
In 7, 8, 9, I really wanted to see Coruscant again.
Yeah.
And hopefully we will again in live action at some point. But this was really cool to see, and it because there's, can you imagine just the vastness? I mean, I was trying to wrap my head around it again watching this. There's over 5,000 levels. When, even when that shot at the end where she's sitting there eating with Trace, you can kind of see in the distance all these there's so many buildings. There's so many.
Yes.
This. Yeah. I got to look at the population of this place. It's got to be. It's got to be 40 billion people.
Trillions? Yeah.
Trillion people. It is. I don't know. It's so big, and there's so many stories on this planet that you can do. Endless stories.
Yeah, and that's when I was talking about the environment. I love especially that scene where they're in the diner or the outdoor eating restaurant. There, it's cool because it felt like a real place, even though you are many levels below well, below the surface, it's not below the ground. So and that's the thing that people need to understand about Coruscant. When I read Catalyst, it went into kind of the geology and of Coruscant a little bit, talking about how it was just planet they just kept building onto it, the levels on top of one another, but there's still even with that there's still some exposed land even on the outside. It's kind of a weird it's just a weird system, that planet.
Yes.
So it's crazy to think of that there are just civilizations living under one another, and you're right, there's endless stories you could tell exploring all of that. And that's kind of what I think what potentially could have been the Underworld show that we were promised long ago. So
yeah, I'd be curious to really have like an engineer on the show to talk about whether or not this is actually possible. To build on each other like that.
The weight, the infrastructure.
How it's all connected.
The scaffolding of it, because you have to build out.
You have to build out and up. Right?
It's no.
Basically, you've increased the diameter of the planet.
Yeah.
You have. Because when you look at it, in episode 1, when we first get introduced to Coruscant, your uncle Rick O'Lee was. He mentions it to Anakin. He says, the entire planet is one big city. Mm-hmm. And when you look at it from the outside, it's like, wait a minute. So you're not seeing technically any of the planet there.
Right.
It's extended out. I wonder how much of the exterior.
Tiny little planet. I don't know. Yeah. It's like, how big is this thing? Yeah.
But you made a good point with the catalyst thing, because I remember that too. Like, but it felt like they were close to the core.
Oh,
when they talked about still having greenery down there somehow. And
maybe, yeah.
I'd have to reread it, but I read that part and I was like, wow, that is weird that there's still that capability.
There was like a protected civilization.
Yes,
that it was so. like a preserve, like a reservation almost.
Yes,
that Urso, I think, like Lyra really tried to fight for, something like that. But interesting.
It's very interesting. Overall, great episode. I'm with you. It's really good to see Ahsoka, and we're going to get 3 more episodes apparently with this story. So touching into those episodes, you got episode 6 next week, which is March 27th. That'll be an episode called Deal or No Deal. I don't. Basically, what's going to happen is the sisters and Ahsoka are going to run in with the Pikes, and an episode 7, which is out Friday, April 3rd, is called Dangerous Debt, and the tagline for that is taken prisoner by the Pikes, Ahsoka and the Martez sisters attempt to escape. Then a week later, we got episode 8, Together Again, which is Ahsoka bargains for the sisters' freedom and makes a startling discovery. And then that will wrap up this arc, apparently, with the sisters.
Yeah.
Because episode 9, April 17th, is where we start getting into some good stuff here. Really good stuff, anyway. Old Friends Not Forgotten, and this episode is about Anakin and Obi-Wan must decide whether to help Ahsoka pursue Maul or rescue Palpatine. So we're getting into episode 3 right here. We're about to get in episode 3.
Yep.
Now, I think, if I recall, man, tell me if I'm wrong. Did they do that in the microseries as well? Didn't they do, in the second volume of the microseries, they did the escape, the kidnapping of Palpatine?
Yeah, they showed it was the invasion, essentially, or the attack of on Coruscant, General Grievous went to on the planet. Actually, was part of that operation to kidnap Palpatine. That's where Mace and him fought. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it was incredible to see that. It was so good.
And that's how, and they showed how Grievous got his cough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mace Windu
from that fight.
Yes.
Yeah, incredible. There's so many amazing scenes in this episodes because they're very short, so they almost are scenes in some ways, but I guess like a 1 or 2 scene that kind of thing. But yeah, fantastic. You didn't get as in depth with the clones there. You didn't have that diverse identity at all, but you still had some amazing sequences and some character development with Anakin falling. Like the whole time he was just like an angsty, just complicated guy on a dark journey. And then Mace, Obi-Wan, all those guys, Yoda.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I wonder if I don't think so. I wonder if would we get a shot of them invading Coruscant and taking the Chancellor?
I hope so. That would be so cool.
It would be, but
I don't know how it would work, because that would just be a weird tease to not see. And obviously you're watching it and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to watch Revenge of the Sith to see the end of it. But I don't know how you would incorporate that if it's just like a quick glimpse of it happening. I mean, the way the description is, it's already like he's already been kidnapped. So
yeah,
I don't know if like the start of this episode, you'll get that kind of you get Tom Kane's introduction there saying like Palpatine's been kidnapped. So it's like literally minutes before Revenge of the Sith starts.
Yes.
Before
I'm just thinking whether or not you can, because if you remember from the very first teaser we got from the Clone Wars, which was the end of the reveal that it was coming back. You remember at the very end, him and Obi-Wan are walking in. Anakin and Obi-Wan are walking in. They're like, what else could I possibly you have for me? And then there's that hologram of Ahsoka and Bo-Katan next to her, and she turns around and says, "Hello, Master. It's been a long time." So that's the first time they've seen each other, since she left. So if that scene still holds true, because they could have gotten rid of that scene. Sure. Who knows? But the episode could obviously start with them finding out. I think the startling discovery is that Maul is taking over, has taken over Mandalore again, is what I'm assuming that is. And she's been contacted by Bo-Katan or something like that, or somehow she runs into Bo-Katan and finds this out, and then they contact the Jedi Council for help. And that's Obi-Wan and Anakin. I think they agree to help her, but then that's what I was saying. Maybe they cut to where the scene where Anakin or Grievous goes down there and somehow it starts invading Coruscant, and that's when a really quick shot, and then it comes back to them like, okay, we've got to go do this, you got to go do this kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be pretty awesome if it did.
Yeah, that's like we're smiling talking about this because it's just like I'm getting so giddy thinking about it, like all the cool connections that they're going to make, and that's just what's so. That's why Filoni is right now the best at what he does, because he knows exactly how to tie it all together and make everything, every medium feel like it's part of the same family, part of the same story overall. And yeah, like it just proves that he needs to be having a voice. Maybe he is, we just don't know it, but having a voice in the wider scope of how Star Wars needs to be told.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know either. So that leads into the last description that we have, which is episode 10, The Phantom Apprentice. And that is Ahsoka and Republic forces confront Maul on Mandalore. So, this what we're getting is 3-4 episode arcs is what it seems like we're getting. So it seems like 9, 10, even though we don't have descriptions of 11 and 12, assuming they are Siege of Mandalore still. And I'm guessing in 11, I'm going to purely guess, I think in episode 11, I don't know. Could Order 66 happen? If this is happening at the same time, there's still a couple weeks, right? After, or still a week or so after.
Maybe, if that.
The Chancellor gets rescued at the, because there's all kinds of stuff that happens before Order 66 happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they time jump or they feel like it's taken that long. Maybe episode 11 is maybe, I don't know, a time jump in a sense that the Siege of Mandalore is taking a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's happening while all this stuff's happening in episode 3, and then the last episode 12 is the Order 66. I don't know. I'm starting to question how Order 66 could happen in the Clone Wars, but I don't know. I feel like we need to get it.
I know. I do hope it is earlier than. I hope it's not like the last thing of episode 12. Kind of like the cliffhanger ending in a way. I feel like it needs to happen earlier. Episode 11 would be earlier than I would think, but that would be really cool. Where then episode 12 is all about escaping it essentially and surviving it.
Yeah,
that would be incredible because you really are overlapping and also showing post Order 66 kind of some of those events. That would be so much fun to see.
It's got to be. I mean, it's got to end with, in my opinion, it's got to end with, if it's about Ahsoka and Rex, it's about how they survive and how they hide. And it's got to be, it's almost, if you think about it, to me, it's like the end of episode 3. You've got Bail and Yoda and Obi-Wan sitting there saying, okay, we're going to go into hiding and we're going to, come back out when it's ready. I feel like that's how this has got to end, where you've got Ahsoka and Rex saying, look, we've got to hide. She got his chip out somehow, and they go into hiding, and that truly does set up what happens to them in Rebels, right? I mean,
yeah.
Ahsoka gets discovered, or she's the fulcrum that pulls them together, and then of course she sends him off to get Rex because she knows where Rex is at. I mean, it completely ties in perfectly, which is what he wanted, I'm sure.
I do need to reread that prologue to Ahsoka, the novel.
Yeah.
I've said that before, but I need to definitely do that.
So those are the episodes coming in April, and of course the last 2 will be in the first couple of weeks of May. So we still got 7 more episodes, so it's going fast, but 7 more episodes. Okay, the only thing besides we get into this big news topic here is the Rise of Skywalker novel did just drop as well this week, the expanded edition. I did start that, the audiobook of it. I am in the scene where I just drove to Lexington really fast here tonight, and I was listening a little bit as I was driving, and I got through. I'm actually in the middle of the scene where, in the beginning, where Kylo has found the Emperor on Exegol.
Oh,
and
okay.
They're having that conversation. The scene on Mustafar that apparently got cut is in the book.
Cool.
It's very brief, so I'm not sure why he took it out. I mean, it's the creature basically tells him where to find the Wayfinder is what basically all he does. But he references Vader. I mean, he references that this is Vader. This is, Vader's home, and Vader was hiding it, blah, blah, blah. It's referred to in the book as Vader's Wayfinder. Vader's Wayfinder. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the conversation that I haven't got to I just really got to the last line I listened to was him doing the voices of Snoke and Vader, saying that he's been basically training him from the beginning. So I want to really listen to the conversation and find out what, those answers about Snoke and I don't know. It's but there was a ton more. Like, this is chapter 2. Chapter 1, it actually did it in reverse. Chapter 1 was Rey's training with Leia. Okay. And then chapter 2 is him on Mustafar. So, but there's a lot more training. There's a lot more Leia talking about her training with Luke. It's really it is. I mean, it's a good book to sink your teeth into if you want a lot more detail. So, let's definitely suggest going and get that because it's gonna be fun.
Jumping on that very soon.
So that's out there. Go listen to that or go read that. It should. I mean, it should answer some questions, but it's probably going to pose a lot more questions to some people. Okay, so the big news of the day, which, and we'll talk about a lot more right now. And I think I texted you guys yesterday about it, but because the conveniency of this report with Ahsoka returning on the Clone Wars, right? That we got some breaking news about Ahsoka appearing in season 2 of The Mandalorian. Now, not only did we get a possible rumor that she would appear, but apparently she's already been casted. And the person playing her is Rosario Dawson. So, now, I don't know about you, but I was really skeptical about this because I've actually been hearing that Rosario Dawson would be the perfect Ahsoka for I feel like for 5 years.
Yeah, well, it kind of started in 2017. Someone did I think 2017, someone did a fan conceptualization of her as Ahsoka. And then she got wind of it, and she's like, "Actually, yeah, I would love to play Ahsoka." I don't know how she.
I didn't know that.
She actually responded about it. I don't know how long ago that was, but she was actually aware of this fan kind of casting, and she was like, "Totally, I would be on board with that." So
wow, now
there
that's
you go.
Impressive, yeah, because that's like, you've heard of a lot of instances of that happening, but not actually happening. Like I remember John Hamm was getting asked to be Superman for so many years. Right. And he's even said, yeah, I'd do it. Nothing ever happened.
Well, like right now you have, for Fantastic Four, you have John Krasinski and Emily Blunt as part of the team.
I actually think that could really happen.
That would be awesome. Yes, that could really happen. But that's another great example of the fans are literally casting these actors.
Yes. Nathan Fillion was get him to be Hal Jordan, for years. But so this is actually a really cool thing if it does happen. I guess the question what we can maybe talk about a little bit is how do you think Ahsoka fits into the Mandalorian story? There is discussions that Moff Gideon has the Darksaber, and there's been interviews, I guess, with him, or that are out there, discussions with him that there is some saber action happening in season 2, and so you can now start speculating that it possibly is with Ahsoka. But last we heard of or seen of Ahsoka, and this is spoilery if you haven't seen Rebels, but she is. The last we saw was she left with Sabine to go look for Ezra. So this is now we don't necessarily know exactly when that happened because Mandalorian is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, right? And we're kind of told in the end of Rebels that it kind of skips through the original trilogy. So they're like basically on Lothal as the Civil War is going on, and as when they find out that it's over, that's when they kind of decide to go look for Ezra. So we don't know how far after, if it's after Return of the Jedi or if it's after the Battle of Jakku. I don't know. I don't necessarily think we know that yet, but I don't know. How do you feel like, or how do you sense that she gets actually into this story?
It seems like a stretch for me. I mean, you have a connection again. Yeah, Darksaber, and then that's connected to Mandalore, Bo-Katan, and already then you are connected in some way to Ahsoka. So it's not too much of a stretch to say, well, if you have the Darksaber, then obviously Mandalorian, he's Mandalorian. So that gets involved with maybe Bo-Katan can come in and say, hey, there's the only person we know that could probably go up against this guy. I don't know why, because I feel like they could take him on themselves, but they'd say, like, we need to go find Ahsoka for some reason, because I'm saying it, even thinking to myself, that seems like a stretch. I can't think of the best way to incorporate her, unless Cara Dune has some kind of connection to her, since she was part of the Rebel Alliance. Maybe there's some way she knew of her as Fulcrum, but or maybe they find her because it's Baby Yoda, because of the Force connection through that. Like the only person that they know of in Luke Skywalker, if they don't know about him or can't find him, then the only person they can find is Ahsoka. But the big question though is, when does it take place? Because my impression was that moment in Rebels happens shortly after the Battle of Endor. Only because in that sequence, Hera's talking about all the battles that they faced. She doesn't mention the Battle of Jakku. She mentions the Battle of Endor. So, okay, well, if she didn't mention Jakku, then it hasn't happened yet. So, therefore, I thought, that's why I assumed it took place before. But maybe that scene in Rebels takes place over 5 years. So, that still hasn't happened yet by the time Season 2 of Mandalore premieres. Or the opposite. Mandalorian Season 2 takes place after that moment of Sabine and Ahsoka going out. So they've already returned. And now this is like current timeline for her. So I don't know. It's so tricky. I think the most likely scenario I can think of is there's a connection between that they go to find her because of Baby Yoda. That's the only thing I can reasonably think of.
You mean they search her out to see if she knows anything about Baby Yoda or where he comes from? Yeah,
they try to find other Jedi, former Jedi, or Force users and catch wind of her. Again, maybe Mando has heard of Ahsoka for what she did in the Siege of Mandalore, and so they go search her out through that. I mean, he doesn't know much about the Jedi, as we all know, but maybe he's heard of some kind of aspect of Ahsoka through mythology and through the stories, and think like, well, maybe if she's real, she would know. That kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's, well, for one, I like that theory, but I think for one that I think it's inevitable that with Ahsoka, we're going to get Sabine. Because right now, the last time we saw them, they were paired together. So I think the whole Ezra Thrawn story will get told in some other way, but I think this is Sabine and Ahsoka's way story to continue. And it's funny because it's Filoni. Well, it's Favreau's series, I guess, but Filoni is really putting his his imprints on it, right?
Yeah,
it's almost like his third series.
Yeah, I don't know how that conversation comes about. Where maybe it's season 2 where it's season 2 where it's like Favreau left it more open to collaboration for Filoni helping him craft the stories.
Yeah.
Where it's like almost like season 1, from what we've heard and been told, that it's pretty much Filoni say, okay, I hear like he came up with the stories for the most part. I mean, we know based off the credits that other people wrote the episodes, but Favreau kind of laid out the groundwork. So maybe now this time it's Favreau and Filoni laying out the groundwork while everybody else is writing it. I mean, again, as I said earlier, Filoni's the perfect guy to help tie all these mediums together. Because he's had a hand in pretty much everything, and just his mind works and is wired the same way as Lucas, and he to me knows how Star Wars operates and is the best person to consult on these matters.
Right, agreed. So my initial theory would probably be that somehow, I don't know how, but again, by doing this, at least when I'm thinking about it, it kind of gets away from the Mandalorian story. So I got to try to figure out how to tie it back. But to me, it's easy to predict that because of the Darksaber, the appearance of the Darksaber now, somehow it gets like somehow Sabine finds out about it, and she's the one that comes back into the fold and tries to figure out what happened to, because maybe it's that wherever they went to go find Ezra, they're coming back from. Yeah. And now it's like, wow, the Mandalorians got wiped out, and I don't know, something happened, and but at that point they probably were already wiped out. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure she knows.
It's just a dangerous. I think it is kind of a tricky ground to plan, because some of the criticism, or at least the worries of fans of season 1, was this is not so much about Mandalorian as it is about Baby Yoda. Where like now it's like season 2, I can see those worries already happening. Well, okay, well, you're introducing these other big characters. You're going to introduce Ahsoka, Sabine. I think Bo-Katan's going to be in it too.
I totally think so too. Yeah.
And another quick evidence of that is several months ago there was a tweet by Sackhoff, Katie Sackhoff, about she was a very cryptic tweet of saying like, guys, I just did like the most amazing thing in my career. It's like the highlight. I wish I could tell you about it, but I can't. I'll tell you about it later, kind of a thing. Oh, and everybody's like, and some people in the Twitter thread were saying like, are you Bo-Katan in season 2 of Mandalorian? And she obviously she didn't say anything, but like, you can't say that without people thinking about it. And what other thing could she be working on? I don't know. She's a big actress, obviously. She does a lot of other shows, but yeah, no, I think your theory is perfect. Yeah, I think. Because Bo-Katan could be that person that catches wind of it to tell Sabine, like, hey, this is what's happening with our people, and
we found the Darksaber. Yeah,
or the armor, maybe.
How can you do that? See, that would be a tough call because Katie Sackhoff, as you're saying, she's the voice of Bo-Katan, right? On Rebels, and I think even back to the Clone Wars, right?
Yep.
See, it'd be weird to cast her, but not cast Ashley Eckstein.
Yeah,
and more than likely, because you could cast Tia Sakar for Sabine, possibly.
You could.
I mean, do you think? I'm just guessing you're using Rosario Dawson's voice as well. I don't think you can dub her.
Yeah, I mean. Rosario Dawson is, I think, a great choice for the live-action Ahsoka. She has a lot of experience already, and that's why I think Katie Sackhoff would be great as live-action Bo-Katan, because she also, again, she has live-action experience in doing that. Yeah. Ashley Eckstein doesn't have as much. I don't know really if she has any, but Tia Sakar, she has some live-action experience, not so much as action as comedy, but Rosario Dawson can definitely pull this off. And her voice, likely it's going to be her voice. But, I mean, they could pull a whole Maul, Sam Witwer thing where they keep Ashley Eckstein's voice because
They
they had her voice as Ahsoka in Rise of Skywalker, so it's kind of like cemented in that. So
I know.
I personally would be bothered if her voice isn't Ahsoka in season 2 of Mandalorian, but I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's hard to be. I just can't imagine you being an actress that's pretty high in demand. I mean, she's Rosario Dawson is a very good actress, like you said, and I just can't imagine that conversation. Like, oh, we're going to cast you, but we're not going to use your voice.
Yeah, I can't.
And most actors don't really, wouldn't be on for that. So. But anyway, if she is, that'd be fantastic. So,
yeah.
But again, this is completely unconfirmed from Lucasfilm.
Right.
This is just a apparent report coming out, but every outlet seems like they're reporting it now. Even Nerdist, I think Variety even did a tweet about it. So, there's some big news organizations now that are following the story and claiming that it's true. So, do you feel like? Last thing, do you feel like this is a leak, or do you feel like this was intentional?
It's either an intentional leak. Well, I feel like it has to
maybe
be.
Gauge the interest.
I guess. It is timed so perfectly. I can't. It's either. I think it's definitely a planned leak. It's either planned from Lucasfilm or it's planned from. I think Slash Film was the initial person to leak it. So it's either planned for them. It's like, hey, let's put this out on this day because the episode. It's like, it's the same reasoning. Let's premiere the Ahsoka episode and let's also leak this to build on top of that publicity. So, but that was either, to me, coming from Lucasfilm wanting to build on that publicity, or it's Slash Film wanting to build on top of that as a true leak. So, I think it's definitely planned. But from whom? I don't know. Slash Film or Lucasfilm.
But can you imagine, because the unbelievable secrecy that the guys did for season 1 to not let Baby Yoda.
That's a good point.
Get revealed, right?
Very good point.
I feel like this would be something that they had to have tried, at least hold it to at least a trailer. To where we would see her live action and be like just blown away.
Yes.
But now you're kind of underwhelmed, right? Because if you see her now, it's like, well, we knew that was going to be true. So part of me feels like that this actually may have got leaked. And Filoni and Favreau might be really pissed off right now.
Yeah,
that this got leaked. Yes,
I would have a problem with firing somebody.
Yeah, like this could have been their season 2 Baby Yoda, where they were trying to keep that story. So I don't know. I feel for him if it wasn't.
No, it would have had that mind-blowing moment to not have heard anything about it, seen anything about it until the episode premiered.
Oh gosh!
Even now, though, even if this is, well, let's just say it is. This is a real thing, and it really is happening, which it seems like it is. I still don't want to see it. Like I don't want to. I don't want to see it in a teaser. I don't want them to put out an image of it. They can talk about how she looks, but don't show us. Let us forget about it, or just still be surprised by it. That is a moment wasted.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. It's kind of, I guess, look, think about the secrets that they held. They basically, for a longest time, they held even Mandalorian's name. Like, his name didn't come out till close to, the premiere or right after the premiere. Baby Yoda and the Darksaber.
No story elements were leaked. None.
Nothing. So it's amazing if this got leaked. So yeah, someone's fired. Someone's definitely fired.
Yeah.
But we will see. That's the rumor. So we will see if that's gonna come to fruition here, or if we're gonna get some official announcement. And don't really anticipate. I don't really anticipate. I feel like there's got to be a teaser before Celebration, if there even is a Celebration.
Yeah.
But if there is a celebration, which I think there will be, I think a lot of this stuff will be over by then. Although it's California, that's the only problem. California could be a lot worse.
I'm on the other side. I think it's going to get canceled.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm filling out the podcast application. That's podcast stage already. So,
well, you never know. They could have a backup somewhere, and maybe it's somewhere that's less. But then you're pulling people from. I don't know. That you're right. It's going to be very difficult to make that call.
I mean, you can make a virtual version of it with obviously a significantly lower impact, but. I mean, the news being released is still going to be huge, but...
Actually, you're right. You could do just the live stream part of the panels and stuff.
And I was thinking, too, like, you can even preserve... Somehow, I would think they could still make it to where these other vendors, with all the other panels that they do, that are very much either fan-driven or podcast-driven, which is a fan-driven, but you can still even incorporate that, I would think. You know, so like for us, if we get selected again, they could still maybe reserve, like allow us to somehow be a part of the stream, be on the youth. Like that would still be incredible.
That would be incredible. Yeah, I'd be all for that for sure. Yeah, but we'll see in the next coming weeks and months. I'm assuming with all the news that's happening around the world and we're just in unpredictable times right now. So. But the one certainty is that we will be back here next week talking about Star Wars and all the new news, as well as Episode 6 of The Clone Wars. Tune in to the Mandalore podcast, where we're diving a little bit more deep into the episodes. Casey here is actually joining us as these arcs wrap up on that episode. So this previous episode last week, you can check out the three of us on the Mandalore podcast, really deep diving into the whole Bad Batch arc. But he'll be back with us after we wrap up episode 8, right? Yeah, episode 8.
Yep.
And conclude this Ahsoka story arc as we get into the Siege of Mandalore. So go check that out. And then, of course, tune in next week, and we will talk more about all kinds of stuff. So hope everybody truly is staying safe out there. Be mindful of where you're at and the amount of people that are around. So we just want to hope and pray that we get through this time in our lives. And, even if you're in an isolated neighborhood or you're in a big city, just please take care and be mindful of everybody around you. So,
yep.
Anything else, Case?
No. I mean, thank the Lord, Clone Wars is out there right now, and we just got this Rise of Skywalker book to keep us all busy during this time. I think it's a great thing to continue to have something to kind of escape to in a way. So listening to our show, listening to all the other shows out there, Mandalore podcast, watching Clone Wars. Hopefully they'll put Rise of Skywalker on Disney Plus here in the next few weeks, but probably won't. But
I don't know.
They're releasing everything else now.
They're fast tracking everything else, because Onward, which I gotta recommend, is a fantastic movie. We saw it in the theater. Me and my daughter did, and we just got it last night again because they just put it out on digital. But I think it's coming out on Disney Plus on like April 3rd. I think so.
Yep.
It's a great movie, and it's a really good movie, and I anticipate them doing it, but complete side note. But you know what I think that Disney Plus should do, even though and it's going to sound like I want them to be a greedy company, but don't you think like if Disney Plus would add in-app purchases? Like, you can buy The Rise of Skywalker through Disney Plus right now and add it to your library, or wait till it adds it later, months later.
Yeah. I mean, to be even more greedy, and I would still do this, just have a higher tier subscription.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So it's like you're just paying a higher fee every single month.
You get it early.
You get the in-theater movies earlier, yeah.
I'd totally be up for something like that.
15,
and I think
$20
this is, yeah, and I think this is a way. I think this is going to show studios and consumers what we're wanting and what they're able to get away with now with people being more at home. So I think we're going to see a change in how media is streamed and released in theaters, unfortunately, because I do love going to the theaters, but there's a lot of movies that I don't go into theater that I would buy at home, so I don't know. So something to think about.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. That or, cuz like Rise of Skywalker right now, I bought it digitally, but I can't, it's not in my Disney Plus collection, right? So it's in my Vudu collection. So I don't know. I'd rather buy it in Disney Plus and be there with all the other Skywalker movies. But anyway, we'll see. Thanks, everybody, for listening. InsideTheForce.com. Hope everybody stays safe. We'll see you guys next week. For Casey Cooley.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave Cottingham. May the Force be with you.